Right. Hi everybody, it's my turn to be interviewed.
Role reversal.
Yeah, so Sharon's going to interview me. A lot of you that already watched know some of my background, but we're going to do it anyway for those that don't watch me all the time.
Yeah.
And if not, why not? Okay, Sharon.
Need a spotlight on me.
Yes. I'm Jan.
And you live here with?
And I live here with my husband, Duncan. Yeah,
and you came as a couple? Yeah.
We did come here as a couple, yeah.
And you live here full-time?
We are full-time.
And have been since?
We've been here full-time since 2012.
2012? It's a long time, isn't it?
It's a very long time.
And you're homeowners, aren't you?
Definitely homeowners, yeah.
And the region, if you want to say where we are?
As you'll have seen in Sharon's and some of the others actually, a lot of us are in the Mayenne department, and we're in a little village called Montreal-Poulet, which some of you again will know. Yeah, so in Montreal-Poulet, which is a village, and I think there's around between 300 and 400, and that's quite a big scope, 300 and 400 inhabitants.
Yes. And we're just south of Normandy,
yeah,
aren't we?
Just south of Normandy, and we're very close to all the borders of the Mayenne, Normandy, Orne. So
yeah. Do you want me to ask you which age group you fall in?
As again, most people probably know, but I am the 60 plus age group.
So, did you visit France before coming here to buy?
Only for house viewing. We didn't actually. We hadn't holidayed here. Well, I haven't. I did in 1979 or something like that. Went to the south of France, which is obviously nothing like this end of France. We just literally saw online houses and booked to come over and see them. That was our only thing. And then we didn't really see that. We saw villages
yes.
and stuff like that, but we didn't. So we really got an idea of what the area was like. It was just that we were sold probably on the price of the houses and things initially.
So what influenced you to come to France then? Because from my point of view, I'd been here quite a lot of times before.
Yeah.
So what made you think of coming to France?
I think because it was close to the UK, so we could visit family. We thought easy, and vice versa. And if we wanted to come for weekend breaks, we could do it. But as it turned out, weekend breaks really were not realistic, too tiring, because by the time you got here, a couple of days or maybe even 1.5 days and gone home again, it was just too much, too tiring.
Because you had a holiday home.
Yeah,
we
treated the house as a holiday home before. Actually moving over, so we were coming over, and because every time we'd come over we would do a bit of decoration, renovation. There wasn't major works in what is now the Gîte. It was just mainly decorating, but we did do the floors, which was really hard work. So yeah, we did, because whenever we came over we did that, we did some work and that.
Yes.
So if we came over in the summer or something, then we would stay a bit longer, and once we even had a holiday within the holiday and went somewhere else in France.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why did you decide on the property that you now live in?
We'd looked at a lot of others because we were thinking we're not going to afford somewhere that's completely finished and done. I think we were looking at anything around €30,000 at the time. So we were looking at lots of stuff, as you can imagine, that needed quite a bit of work.
Yes.
And things like that needed roof doing, and just far too much to do. But when we got to this one, personally, I was sold on it as soon as we saw it, because it reminded me of a little village from it could be in the series like Emmerdale in UK. For those that aren't from UK, Emmerdale's a series that's set in Yorkshire. Is it Yorkshire or something?
Yorkshire. Sort of
in
farm.
A village, yeah. And it just reminded me of that. And a lot of people, when they saw the photos, used to say similar. And that's what basically it just felt right. And then once we were looking around, I was looking different part of the property to Duncan, and he was umming, but then in the end he looked at me and he said, because I've already said yes, and he's looked at me and he said, yeah, this is it, I think you're right, Jan. And that, that was that. And because then we went and had a drink in the bar, and that made it feel even nicer because we could sit in the bar, which was walking distance to us. So we had a few coffees in there, and so it was just the whole house just felt right, really. There's nothing particular. If anything, I probably thought this is a bit, why are we taking on a house with a house, or as Duncan always called it, the barn next door, which was an absolute mess. And some of you will have seen in renovation pictures in an older video.
Yes. Yeah.
But there was a lot to do there, but we weren't thinking that far ahead, I don't think, really.
No.
We just thought about getting that one done, but we could holiday in and took it from there.
Yeah. So did you have that ambition to stay here permanently eventually, or at that stage were you just thinking about your holiday home?
Yeah, I did. Didn't really Duncan didn't really let on much, and I think he was just going to go with whatever I wanted, to be perfectly honest. But I know there's no regrets from him, so my plan was that, and hoped that we would eventually move over.
Yeah. And do you regret where you ended up living from the perspective of the property or the town?
No, not at all. I say that. I don't regret what we've got, but I do wish we had more in the village sometimes. I do wish, because initially we were looking for somewhere that had a slightly bigger shop, perhaps, because at the moment obviously we've only got the bar and the shop, haven't we? Even a hairdresser's, but would I don't. I suppose, no, actually, I think if it was in the village, I would probably use it more often. What else was we looking for? It was mainly for, a laundry would have been nice. Yeah, but other than that, it's not that far to go to get any of that anyway.
No, it's not, is it? No. Okay. Were you looking for a renovation project?
I think yes, only because we thought that's all we could afford anyway.
Yes, yeah.
So that we knew we would have to do some work. And we'd, like a lot of people, we were watching these programmes on TV at the time where they were doing places up and we can do that. And because I knew Duncan's quite handy, so I knew he would be able to do some of it, and I did a fair amount. I did surprise myself really, because when you're someone that just knits and sews, to suddenly be doing DIY and everything, I was quite pleased with myself really.
So do you use any other artisans, French or English, or was it mostly yourselves?
Well, at that time, French and that wasn't that great, and I suppose you'd say we were shy to asking anybody other than English, and we just happened that we befriended, during our holidays, we befriended someone who was like a hand-holding person.
Yes.
Like Valerie does at Valerie SOS. No, Anglo SOS, but her name's Valerie. She did that sort of thing then, and I don't know how. Oh, I know where we found her actually. She had a little shop in Lassay, and she sold sort of gifts and books and things like that in this little shop. So we got talking to her, and she said her husband did not DIY. He was a builder and did lots of things like that. So we thought, so we took a card, and so we did contact her quite often as well for doing some translation for us. She translated when we finally did buy. She came and she did do the translation at that. And her husband, we did call him to do our concrete floor in the house we're now living in.
Yes, yeah.
Because that's the only thing we thought we can't manage between the two of us. So he was English, but other than that I don't think we've used any French artisans, and that's not because we don't want to, it's because Duncan has managed to do most of it himself,
Yeah. We have our chimneys swept.
Yes, well that's since we've lived here, So we have the French chimney sweep who is lovely, very friendly, and loves the English, which is handy. But I think a lot of that's because most of us English tend to use him now. He's very well recommended.
He's very good, isn't he? Yeah. So did you come across any problems with the house that you hadn't anticipated?
God, you know, it's been so long, I can't even think. There probably was, but again, because Duncan can do it, we didn't panic about it or anything, because we just got on with it. I mean, it's just, I suppose the only problems you'd say was where we had put windows in and they weren't quite the right size and had to be made to fit. But that's just a normal thing. No, not really. I can't think of anything.
And you lived in the gîte while you were renovating.
Yeah, we was in as holidaying and living in that. We lived in there for. We came in 2012, and I think we moved into the house we're in now. It must have been about 18 months after, I think.
So 2012 was when you bought?
No, we bought.
Oh, it's when you came over permanently.
Yeah, we bought in 2004, and you find a lot of Brits here did much the same thing. It's funny how we all seem to. I can only assume it was the influence of the TV programmes.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
But 2004 was when a lot of people seemed to come over. Yeah, 2012 moved here. Then 2013, or just around 2013, we moved here in 2011. 2011. That's it. Then we moved in. Then we came over in the June, and then we moved in the next year. So it's about 18 months-ish. I can't remember, what was that question again?
Any problems with the house you didn't anticipate?
Yeah, no, I didn't really think of anything. I mean, we just knew there would be problems all over, because there'd be things we'd never done before, but we just dealt with it.
Yeah, yeah. And did you set yourself a budget for the renovations?
That budget was set for us, really, because obviously we sold our flat in the UK, and then obviously we had to pay back part of the mortgage, but it left us with around, I think it was around 35,000, so that was our budget, and that's what we worked to. And we got down to, I think, the last €100 when Duncan needed to start work, but we did have a booking in the gîte.
Fantastic.
We had a booking in the gîte, so we knew we were getting off to a good start.
Yeah.
Would you like to answer any questions, Izzy?
Yeah. You just want to sit down, do you think?
What's occurring here, she says.
So one of the questions here is about Foster Septic, but obviously I know that we're on the mains, which for me was very important. I don't know if you considered that at the time.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually, because we had the tick list when we were looking, and what two things were that we didn't want to have to put a Foster Septic in, and we didn't want to have to put a new roof on.
Yes.
And we've still got the old roof now. It looks old, but it's fine, doesn't? We've done a few small repairs, but it's never let any water in. So, yes, hooray that we didn't have to get the Foster Septic, because obviously the town is on mains drains.
Yes.
So
and of course, being an electrician, Dunk's always done all the rewiring and everything himself.
Yeah, that's what goes without saying. For those that know, Duncan's an electrician, so obviously all the wiring hasn't been a problem, and he's just obviously the one we're living in now needed total rewire, and it was more a case of making safe the gîte, which really now it could do with rewiring and putting different sockets in and things like that. But at the moment it's safe and it's usable, but there's just could do with a few more sockets.
Yeah, modernisation.
Yeah.
Is your family back in your home country? Do they visit much?
Yeah, all of our family are all back in the UK. As I said, we did buy close to the UK because we hoped that they would visit, but you'd be surprised how much they don't. And if any of you are watching, why not? Yeah, so we've had all my children have visited at some point. They all came obviously for our wedding, just the main children. Grandchildren didn't, and only one partner came. Duncan's parents have visited twice, his sister once, and brother-in-law maybe 3 times. I don't know if it's cost, or I don't know what it is, but they don't like this part of France, but it just doesn't seem to happen.
No.
So yeah, it's a shame, because as I say, we did purposely buy closer to the UK so that they could visit, and it does like making you think we could have just moved and got a house somewhere else. a bit further south.
Yeah.
But then we didn't want to go anywhere too hot. And you know how hot it's been quite a few summers now, so you imagine what it's like further south. Yeah.
How do you find the French cost of living compares with cost of living in the UK? I know it's difficult for you because you've been away.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say we have been away from there a long time now, and it's hard to compare, and we don't really know the differences until we actually go back and then start buying things. And sometimes we're surprised that it's cheaper, and sometimes I think, well, because you have to obviously consider the exchange rate as well.
Yes, which is a lot worse than it used to be.
Yeah. It's been up and down quite a few times in those 12 years, but it is hard. But we don't. Yeah, it's hard to actually pinpoint any whether it's good or bad. I don't think it's relevant basically to the cost.
See that?
Yeah,
stop stroking it.
It's relevant with the exchange rate. So I do. Like some things I suppose the English items are the only thing you would say are cheaper there because they're English.
Yes.
And because if they're here, you buy them. We're imported, so we're paying a bit more. But other than that,
wine's still cheaper.
Oh, of course. Fancy slipping up on that. Yes, wine. We do definitely notice that wine is at least twice the price, isn't it?
Yeah.
To what it used to be. I mean, you used to be able to get 3 bottles of wine for £10 when we came over. And I think it's probably, 2 now or something, is it?
I think you'd be lucky to get 1.
Really? It's getting ridiculous, really. And a lot of that is now because they have to import everywhere now. But, right, it's not
they're not getting the European, the advantages of being in the EU.
No.
Are you a resident with a carte de séjour or a French citizen?
Yes, obviously when we first got here you have to tell them that you're here, and then immediately you get your carte de séjour, so they consider you as a resident anyway. But then since Brexit, we've had to get the carte de séjour. So it took a little bit of a time to get it, but we've got the carte de séjour, and I suppose it's the paperwork involved. It's getting all the paperwork together, and even though you keep asking people on Facebook, what did you have to do? How long did you can't compare to anybody else's story because everybody's got a different story. Everybody's in different situations, which is partly why I've been doing these videos, because you can't really go on just for our experience.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a lot of paperwork, and times we kept getting our paperwork sent back and saying you haven't included this, you haven't included that. So it did go on for a while, and then I think in the end, beginning to end, was about getting on possibly 18 months to 2 years before we actually physically got that residence card. Both had to apply for our, because I don't even use them now, I can't remember what the business card is called. But it basically means you're an artisan.
Yes.
It's called. Yeah. Anyway, you used to have to get a card to prove that you was an artisan, which had a SIRAT number on it, so that if anybody employs you, you can prove you are registered and you're working illegally. So it's just another extra card that we had to get. But yeah, we're definitely residents. We've considered.
You got a 10-year residency, didn't you?
Yes. Okay, hope anything looks any different because we stopped for lunch.
Hopefully we're not wearing anything.
No, I did check. I don't think I've got any egg on my chin or anything. Right, where was we?
We were just about to talk about the future. Talk about the future.
Oh, right, okay.
Do you see yourself growing old in France?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, without, I mean, obviously you can't say no, really, or never, but I don't foresee me moving back, no. I think, I'm hoping that by the time I'm the age that I consider old, so I'm youthful.
Yeah, we are. We're in our
prime.
prime.
In our prime, we are. I think, you know, by the time I get to that sort of age, I'm hoping that my language and my friends around me will all, you know, everything will have been well and truly rooted, that I won't feel the need to go back. And obviously,
you've got a hair. I don't think it's attached.
I think, like regarding, like, when obviously you've used the hospital quite a bit while the kids have been here, so I've got confidence in the health system to be here. I don't really see any need to be going back. I think another couple of people I've interviewed have said they hadn't really thought about it until I've asked the question, but if you're suddenly on your own, but then again that comes round to if my friends around me, friends and neighbours, would I feel that I needed to go back to family, or whether I would still be happy and comfortable to stay.
And what about maybe, you know, going into the care system in France?
That scares me, I must admit. That is one thing I do worry about. That's why I say I'd rather have friends and neighbours around me that could possibly call on me or something, because I don't like the idea of going into one of the, what do they call it, EPAD or something here, you know, the care homes, retirement homes, because I think there'd be a lot of old people there talking patois. That is a concern. I think nurses and that, especially by the time I'm that age, well, I think we've learned a fair amount of English by then, so I'm not worried about that. But yeah, I think even if I was French, it's probably not the best thing I'd be wanting to do.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, if you were in the UK and in the care system, to me that's not ideal either.
No.
My mum was in it. And
I mean, if you're lucky enough that you can get one that's good, which is terrible because you shouldn't have to worry about that whether you're paying a lot of money or not, but it might be better. One thing I always think, if I don't know if they do it here, but in the UK you can get your own apartment or something, can't you? Assisted?
Yes, assisted living.
Assisted living. Yeah, I mean, if I could get something like that I didn't feel that I had my own space.
Yeah, with your little pool.
I don't want it to feel like a hospital or something like that. If maybe that, because then I know that I'd still be able to have friends visiting me, and that will hopefully. But yeah, it's not an easy one to. I know Duncan straight away said, "Well, I'm not going back." You know, he's a bit younger than me, so he's probably not thinking on them lines yet.
Yeah.
So you know.
So can you think of any reason where you might decide to go back to the UK?
No.
You're well rooted here.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I just you cannot think of a situation other than suddenly something instilled in my brain thinking, no, I need to be much closer to my family that are in the UK. But I just think if I went back to the UK, where would I live? I mean, my children can't put me up. They haven't got the space, and you know, I'd have to then start renting somewhere. And at my age, I don't really want to start entering into that either. There's a big unsurety. Does that sound right?
I don't think it's a real word, but
no, I've made up a word. Unsurety.
We know what you mean.
Yeah, as long as you know what I mean, that's fine.
Yeah, Shakespeare made up words all the time.
Well, I think I'm going to look in the dictionary later because I might have invented it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to send it off to Oxford, is it?
Yeah, Oxford Dictionary. Yeah. I mean, very closely related is, you know, your experience of the healthcare system, how much you've used it since you've been living here.
I mean, I'd say yes, a fair amount, and I was lucky that not lucky, but when I got my breast cancer, I was lucky that I'd been here the time I had, because it was to me less being like, it's scary, full stop.
Yes.
But if I'd have come here and it happened, and then I was going into the first time of being in the hospital and all that, then I'd have been maybe a bit more scared, and I wouldn't have had the same language, so it'd been hard making myself understood. But even then, that's 5 years ago, I still found that the nurses, doctors were all speaking a bit of English, and the French that they was speaking I could understand.
Yes,
so it's a lot less scary, and you know, they was all, you know, amazing. I mean, Dr. Mill my surgeon is my hero, because, you know, and obviously the person that spotted it on the scan, that he was the main one that spotted the main cancer. So yeah, so he'll always be my hero because he spotted it and cleaned me out, if you like.
But the response times here are brilliant, aren't they?
It's ridiculous. I mean, I'd gone for the mammogram, I think, in the August. Then it was a couple of weeks later, so it must be near the end of August, beginning of September. I was in the UK. Duncan phoned, say they've asked for you to go back. He said, "Don't panic. Maybe they just need to do something again." And because that's when we got there and found that there was a small tumour, but it was tiny, really. And what was it? Like 4 millimetres. It's quite small, isn't it? So but the plan was they were just going to cut it out, and I'd be on pills for, I think at that stage it was 5 years. Yeah, but then when it come to going in, I would say the worst thing is, that doesn't matter, it's not because they're French or anything, was the anaesthetic. When that gave me so many injections around the breast area, and I just cried because it was so painful. But obviously it was done so that I didn't suffer and didn't feel so much afterwards. And I'll say after the operation, it was incredible. I didn't feel pain really much at all, other than maybe when that takes some stitches out. But even that, it was quick. Yeah. So, but then, because then the worst thing was when he had to call me back in afterwards, and I just thought, oh, we're going in for update and just to say everything's all right. And then he said, no, I'm sorry now, but it's everywhere. We've got to take the whole breast. So. And you can imagine how that felt, and poor Duncan went as white as a sheet. But again, I had no qualms about going in, and I was in the next day.
It's incredible.
I mean, the first thing had happened within weeks, and then this was the next day. So, because I was thinking, a few weeks yet, and he just said, right, okay, if you can bring your bag with you, come tomorrow. I went, what? You know, just. And I think it's probably partly why Duncan was in shock as well, because it all happened so quickly. And so that was incredible, really. I'd like to think it wouldn't wait long in the UK, but I just know what I know at the moment, I think I would.
Yeah.
And that's, that is the scary thought.
Can't even talk to your doctor.
No, I mean that's what I've heard from my kids. I mean, when they talk about having to have a phone consultation or Skype, I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But why? I mean, if they've got the time to sit and talk to you on there, why can't they have you in their office?
I've no idea.
But other than that, I've done that done. Oh, well, actually, prior to that, I'd forgotten about. But as I've said in other interviews, and other people have said, you get your bowel cancer testing done about 10 years earlier here. So I'd been doing that, and then on this particular time, I got a call from the doctor to say that it's come back as would be positive or would it be negative? Anyway, whichever it was a bad one. And she said, oh, do not panic, it's probably just a polyp and all this. And so then within, I think it was days or maybe even a week, I had to go and see another doctor at the clinic in Laval. He looked and, he looked at all the details and everything, and I just sort of said in passing, I said, my doctor just said not to panic, it could be a polyp. And he said, she shouldn't say that because you don't know. And I thought it was fair enough, but she was just trying to put my mind at rest. So then I had to go in again quite quickly for them to investigate that. And they was doing, whereas I thought they were just going to do a endoscopy. Is endoscopy that way, isn't it? I think so.
Well, because it's up your end.
Yeah, that's probably what I'm thinking. Yeah, and the other one down your throat. I can't remember what that is. But he just said we will do both ends basically. So they were not, because sometimes if you have the one down your throat, they don't necessarily put you out, do they?
I haven't had the one down
my
throat. No.
I know of people that have had it done and they haven't been put out or anything, and I don't know if they have any sort of anaesthetic for the throat.
Yes, I think they do. Yeah.
I've known it's uncomfortable, so I was dreading it. But so I said, oh, so that will be under a local, and he said, no, general, you will be asleep.
Yeah. Fantastic.
And I think it makes sense because you're relaxed more, aren't you?
Yeah.
And he was going to go in both ends. And when I come to, he said that there was a polyp, and it was about the size of a pea, and that they would obviously send it off for biopsy. And then very quickly, while I was sitting there, come back and said it was nothing. But I still obvious to me, if that hadn't been spotted 10 years down the line before I was tested again,
yes,
it could have
been anything.
It was metastasised, as they call it. So I was lucky again with that. I've had 2 carpal tunnel done, one on each wrist. One was done before COVID. The next one was due during COVID, but it kept getting postponed, so there was a bit of a gap between those.
Foot.
Oh yes, I managed to break my foot, as some of you know. So I had to go in and have that put in plaster. Yeah, I don't think it's been anything else.
I think that's it, hospital-wise.
I think at the moment, touch wood, that's it. But every time the treatment's been amazing.
Yeah, the speed of it as well.
Yeah, it is the speed. I get the gist at the moment that we're running out of specialists. They are very desperate for more specialists and everything, and it's like any country in the world. I think in some ways they cannot pay people enough that they want to go into the health system to do for work. So it is a bit of a concern now, and some people are having trouble getting a GP. So I was worried when we lost Dr. Samoa. So we were lucky that because I was panicking, because obviously I'd already lost the first doctor because she was going back to Romania.
Yes.
But we luckily enough turned around and went back to her,
yeah,
because I'd heard that she was still there, and we managed to get in before she very soon after closed her books. So, and she's lovely great, because we speak French to her, but she will always speak English, and we always back. There you go. Sharon doesn't. She speaks English to her. I find myself going into English because there's certain things when I just cannot think quick enough what the French would be.
Yes. If you're talking medical technicalities, there are often words that you haven't learned yet.
No.
Yeah.
Whereas I suppose the doctors are more likely to have learnt it, because if they're good and are passionate about their work, they're going to make sure they're understood the same as we want to be. So we're very lucky to be back with her. We haven't had that problem, but apparently some people are struggling to find a doctor because a lot of them are retiring.
What about dentist? Have you used dentist here?
Oh yes, forgot about the dentist.
Yeah.
In the early years, I did, because I think I had an abscess at one point, and I knew I needed some fill-ins, and I'd heard that particular dentist was very good. Again, had some English.
Is that the one I've been to in Lasso?
Yes, he's always been highly recommended. Yeah, so, and because it's local, I went there, and the cost was a bit of a shock because it was, I think, very cheap compared to what we paid in the UK. And he was just, I didn't feel a thing. Any time I've gone, even if I had the injection, I never even felt the injection go in, nothing. And I had to have a root clean, was it like a root? Is it when they do like they clean your root out?
Yeah, I don't know what they call it.
I can't remember what it's called now. Anyway, they did that, and again, because they're going quite in a very sensitive depth, didn't feel a thing. And I was just so shocked when I come out. I thought, well, straight away you think, well, I could come here again, because if it was painful, you'd think, oh, I'm avoiding that. But I don't tend to go. I mean, I probably should be going regularly, but they don't push you to do it here. Because in the UK, as soon as you finish, they're saying, right, back in 6 months, when you probably don't need it. But I mean, obviously some people do, but I don't think you always need it.
Did you find it difficult to get your carpet towel when you first came over?
No, that was.
Did you need it when you first came over?
You had to have it.
Oh right, so you weren't relying on the.
Well, when you
E111.
When I said earlier, you have to. No, I never. Oh, obviously when we first come, we probably did have the E111 or whatever it's called then. So we could take that if we went, but in the early days we weren't really using the health system at all. Obviously, as soon as you're registered here and you can prove that you're going to be working and you've got a business, all this, that automatically comes out as well, the carpet towel, or did then. Now it's obviously a bit different now, again since Brexit things have changed, so we've got here at the right time where things were a little bit simpler, even though they didn't feel like they were at the time. So that wasn't that much of a we were in the system and it was working, and we were having to use a form that's called the fopy'sfrance. I think you had some, didn't you?
I did have some before.
And all you did was the doctor would give it to you when you've paid. She had it stamped with all the details that needed to be printed it out, and then you just signed it basically and sent it off to get your money back. We didn't send every single one back, mainly because we kept forgetting, but it was such a small amount that it was almost embarrassing to ask for it back, because you just think, well, this is, basically we're not that tight that we can't afford about €5. It was worth it. So yeah, that was until we got the card, and once we got it, that's fine, because you just show your card, don't you? And now it's changed again, that carte vitale, and it now includes all of your medical history, whereas I thought it did before, but now it's got everything on it, because the doctor recently took I suppose she did it with you, but she took my card off me to basically, it was being updated, I think that's probably why. It was being updated, which you do every year. Is it every year?
Yeah, it's not that often, is it?
And she said, and she's asking where I'd come from. Was I born in the UK and all that? Because she said everything is now on this card. Because she knew, but obviously she had to confirm with me. So yeah, I think it is as it's updated now. There's more information going on it, which is it's good. It's a bit better than I'm hoping. It means you don't have to keep carrying your files with you all the time, because that's one thing here and I'm shooting this up, I can only go by what I've had to do up to now. Go on, sneeze and I can
it's gone now.
One thing here, they give you your x-rays on the day of it. For any unlikely reason it's not ready, they'll put it in the post to you, which is what happened first came, but usually your x-rays are given to you before you leave the hospital. You store them, and each time you go for any related appointment, they will say don't forget to bring your carte vitale, your top-up insurance information, and your x-rays. So, because then they've immediately got them there to look at, which it does make sense. Whereas I think in UK everything is on the system, and they'll find you on the system. And whereas they do still like paperwork, and stuff that they can physically look at here, don't they?
But I took my mammogram results to Dr. Iuta this week. She did look at them, but she said, "Oh, I have got them on the system." So
there you go. Yeah. So that's.
I mean, we do pay here, don't we? That's worth saying, especially compared to. I know if you've got American viewers and things, and then of course you pay. But in the UK, we've got a health service free at the point of entry. Yeah,
well, the national insurance. What's the percentage that we used to pay that? I can't remember.
National insurance.
Yeah, because that's what it comes from, the hospital stuff, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
I'm not sure what that was when I left there, but I mean here it's around 20. It depends on how much you earn, but I think on what level you come in at. But with the level we're at, I think it's around. It's probably less, but around 25% of our earnings goes on what they call cotisations, that pays into the system that pays for the health care.
Yes, yeah. But we pay for our doctor.
Yep.
And we get, so it's €25 at the moment, isn't it?
Yep.
And we get 70% of that back from the government, don't we?
Yep.
And our top up may or may not pay the difference.
Yeah. I mean, I think most of the time we do get, I would say, the majority of the funds back that if we've had to pay out, and I think it's 25 for, I think, doctors and dentists, and I think it might be 27 for another consultant, but they're around the same sort of price, whatever each consultant, doctor, dentist, whatever, gets paid each time you go. Then I don't know how that works. Does that pay for their wages? I don't know how it works. Whether it goes.
No, I don't know.
Because we used to the general health service. When we went to Dr. Samora, because we got used, well, especially myself, I've got used to paying Dr. Iuta, just giving her my card. But once I'd had the cancer treatment, she wouldn't charge me, because she just said you're on 100%, you don't have to pay it. So even now, I mean, obviously I'm still under treatment, so I suppose that's why. But whenever I go in, I'll say, right, do you want money? Because I always double check in case it's changed, and she'll always say, no, it's 100%. So I haven't had to, but when Duncan's been, he still has to pay her, and he'll get that bit back.
You get that bit
afterwards.
Go straight into your bank account. It's quite simple, isn't it?
So it was complicated when you first got it, because we've got used to just paying the national insurance in the UK, and then it always feels like you're getting it free, but you're not, because you're paying your national insurance. But obviously that hasn't covered enough there now, is it? Because they're struggling because they've not been charging people enough. So really here we are lucky with that it's better because we're paying more.
But then, well, it'd be interesting to see if we're paying more, actually. Because obviously we pay for doctor, but then my top-up pays for all my prescriptions. And in the UK, prescription charges are really high.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's over £10 an item now. So it'd be interesting to do a little exercise, see how that works out.
Thinking about it, there are health insurances available in the UK, aren't they? But generally only, I think that's what I'm thinking of. Or am I just thinking about private care?
Well, yeah, Bupa and things of
yes.
private healthcare. You're not going through the NHS necessarily.
Yeah, but I could never do that, and I only ever went into any sort of Bupa care when we was working with the housing association, and
we've got
I had a problem there, and then I could go to the private hospital and get some care then. That's my only experience of it.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. So we're talking about integrating now. So do you feel you've been accepted and welcomed in the village?
Well, I think we have. I mean, it's neighbours now, we're just accepted, that's it, we're here. I mean, our neighbours, some of you will know, our closest neighbours, one of them was witness at our wedding. We've had numerous parties in the garden where all the neighbours have come, and I think they like that. But you do have to put the effort in, you can't just expect it to happen. I mean, some people always, that doesn't happen in our village, why? But only because we were really scared. I mean, even though we knew Leon and Natalie, that first time, inviting all the neighbours, what's it going to be like? Are they going to talk to us? But they was thrilled to bits, and all got very, very drunk, and it was just a good laugh. And it's then when you start to find out the village politics, because there's not everybody gets on.
No.
And it's quite funny how you can see certain neighbours don't really talk to each other, but most of the time, most of them are okay.
I feel as if my road.
Sharon's got the special road. Apparently people in this road, our neighbours, will say she's a bit special. But they're fine, they're absolutely fine, apart from one. Absolutely fine, so it's a bit strange really. It's just that for some reason in this road, you've got one of they're very right wing or something, and the other neighbours don't get on with them, and there's others that are a bit weird, and man on the corner gets drunk a lot. I can't say anything else because it's just getting too personal. But anyway, our neighbours are fine. There's one that most of the neighbours don't like, but they're always very polite. I mean, the other day we was just getting out of the car. He was going across the square and said, "Bonjour, Duncan." And I sort of looked around, "Who's that?" And he went, "Bonjour, Janet." And as much as we're not that keen on them people, they're still being very polite to us. So it's.
Do you think you make friends easily though?
I like to think I do, yeah. I mean, I'm not shy really, am I? Yeah. So that helps. I wouldn't say you'd make me friendly, because I mean, when you think we've been coming here on holiday all that time, and all that time I don't ever remember really talking to Natalie and Leon. I think once they find that you're here and you're here to stay, they're more likely then to talk to you, because maybe they see that, although they're probably, that we had got chatting, they probably would have been fine, and we could have probably even given her a key to look after the house when we're not here. But it just didn't happen. We were only here for a week or two at a time, and before we knew it, we were gone. And we spoke to our immediate neighbour next door. He would come out, but then it was almost like convenience, wasn't it? Because he could come out the front door, say hi, and all that. And so obviously been friendly enough with him, even though we hardly see him, because he spends half his year in the south with his sister, and now he's moved there permanently.
Yes, yeah.
And recently we've been receiving messages from him asking us if we're okay, which is nice, because in a way he's spoken to us more since he left than he did when he was here. But his wife was here when we first came here, and she was so lovely, and she was the one that always invited us in to have a meal and have a drink, and so she's always really sweet. And so I mean, it's even in the bar we try to be friendly with everybody, because you're close together, aren't you?
Yes.
When you go to the mayor's drink on New Year's and that, occasionally one will come up and just say, "Oh, you're the English. Oh, you're the electrician."
Is it important in your opinion to be able to speak French when you're living here?
I immediately would say yes, and that's more for your benefit than the French in some ways, because it will make you feel a lot less uncomfortable, a lot less awkward if you don't have any language. The French, as long as you try to say something, yes. And even as simple as a bonjour when you do see someone, and you make some attempt, if you meet the right people, they will correct you, and that helps anyway. But yes. There are lots of teachers here now, and there's obviously apps and everything where you can learn. We've had lessons before we left the UK and when we got here, but the most learning is done through just talking to people, and eventually it will go in. And one thing we used to do was watch French TV with the French subtitles, and eventually, whether it's your subconscious, I don't know, but eventually yes. You start to recognise words that are being mouthed, if you like, if it was in time. Very often they're not, but you'd start to recognise words and realise, where to use them, all this sort of thing.
Yes.
But we still couldn't sit and read a French book. No. But we could read. It's easier for us to read it than speak it still now. If we, like example, this neighbour I just said, he tried to video call me, so you can imagine I panicked because I thought I'm not going to understand a word he says. He's very much he's from Paris, but he still has a bit of a patois. So I didn't answer. I did have to make a bit of a white lie. And I did say that I'd missed the call, but I did so it's be easier for us in a message because we can read it better and we can understand it better. And then he then texted me back, so he knew what I was getting at. Yeah. So but we can definitely read it better than hear it. So I mean, but it has got a lot better than. And again, it's through talking to the neighbours.
Did you find it easy to find a teacher when you came over?
You've got me thinking now, where did we get Carol from? Okay, it must have been someone else was getting lessons with her, that's all I can think of.
Yeah.
So we went with Carol. It was fairly easy anyway, but I can't remember how. And we found out that she could do both of us and at weekends as well, because Duncan working during the week, we needed someone that could do weekends because he couldn't always get the time off. And I'm sure since then we've found and heard of a lot more teachers, so it's not that difficult.
Did you ever use the apps?
Duolingo, I did have a go at, and I did get. It's a bit addictive in a way, isn't it? Because once you start using Duolingo, and it's quite repetitive, so you feel like in some ways you're achieving more than you actually are, because you just keep saying the same thing. But repetitiveness is supposedly how you learn, isn't it?
Yeah.
And even our French teacher, when we did go, like Carol, she very often says it's the repetitiveness sometimes that teaches you, but they're not always, the apps aren't necessarily realistic in everyday life talking. They try, and very often the apps are American, so they'll come up with an American spelling, they won't recognise how we do it, how we would, like colour, for example, isn't it?
Yeah.
It'd be COLOR in America, wouldn't it? In the COLOUR in English, it's things like that.
Yeah, toilets is always a problem. You have to write
restrooms. Yeah.
And stores instead of shops.
Yeah.
So it's like double translating.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I did. I must have done it for about a year. Yeah, the Duolingo is very good if you want going from scratch, from the basics, because it does judge on what level you're at before you start, doesn't it? And I think even now they can up, do you want it for holidays or do you want it for work? So it would steer you down the right path. But I don't think you did that when we first used it.
Yeah, I do like it as a supplement. I don't think I'd like to rely on it for everything.
I think it's a confidence builder, because if you do go on it and you find yourself you're doing the right words and it's telling you you're correct, you think, oh, good, I can. Yeah. But obviously you still need. Because do you do the voice on it? Because there is a bit sometimes where you can answer it back.
Oh yes,
you do that. Because whenever I did it, it wasn't giving me the confidence. It didn't understand a word I was saying, so I gave up with that. But I haven't touched it obviously since.
We talk about your income. So once you made the decision to live here, did you know how you would support yourself?
Again, we had all that time to think about all of that stuff before we came, and I think it was probably more of a concern for Duncan because he kept saying, obviously, it wasn't retirement age. Well, I'm still not legally, or officially retirement age, but then we weren't. It was even more so because I was 51, I think, when we came over. So we did have to think about it, but there was no way that I was going to be able to go into a French job. So it was a bit up in the air, and I just thought, I'm just going to come in and have a life of Riley. But Duncan said, no, we're going to have. You can't just turn up in a country and not earning money. We've got to live off something. So because he had his trade of being an electrician, I knew he would get work because I'd spoken to so many people that English electricians are in demand, and from that lady I said we met when we first came here.
Yes.
She, because her husband was in the building trade, she said you would get work, and so many people said that, but Duncan almost didn't believe it until it happened. That's all we could think of. He thought, right, if I can't be an electrician, I'm going to have to be a handyman or something, which to us now is a bit of a bugbear that people come over as handyman and they think they can be electrician, plumber and everything, but you can't do that here. So he did, when we first come, he had 1 or 2 jobs, and then he did privately do some plumbing work, or like we fit someone's bathroom, and it was mainly around plumbing, and there was some electrics involved, so we thought, well, that will get me started, but before you knew it, he was just getting jobs. We were advertising, we were putting his cards in shops and places like and bars and things like that, but he doesn't put them out at all now, and now it's all on recommendation. So basically we needn't have worried.
Yes, yeah.
But once we knew we were going to be moving into next door, and we would, that's obviously we decided this before we came over because we knew we were going to be using that house that we were living in as a sheet.
Yes.
So that was going to be a backup. We were going to earn money by letting it, but you still don't know how many people are going to rent it. You see, it's still not guaranteed. And once you get it, you realise how many people are doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. You've got B&Bs, hotels and sheets, and it was all very nerve-wracking, and that's why people always say you were very brave to do it. But it didn't feel like that at the time. It just felt it was right to be doing it, and we were lucky. The first year we did get quite a few bookings, and so the day we moved out of the sheet into next door, it felt like we were painting as we were backing out of the sheet because it still had only just been finished, and it would be ready by the time the guests got there. Yeah. So but even now the sheet is just a backup and a bit of bunks if Duncan didn't work for some reason, we'd have that, hopefully. But again, as I say, there's no guarantee you're going to get anybody staying.
Do you think that's a mistake that people make? They say, I'm going to open a sheet, and they base their income on, it being filled permanently. Yeah. Of course, that doesn't really happen, does it?
No, if you think you're going to earn money from it all the time and you're here, you need to come over with some money as well.
Yes.
You can't, it's just not going to happen. I mean, and you would have to let it all year round, and you've then got to bear in mind all the bills that are included that you've got to think about as well. And you've still got to be able to keep your rent at a level that you're going to get bookings from as well. It's so much to think about. It's not a case of just turn up, make a few beds, rent it. Yeah. But no, you cannot come here and just think you're going to live off that, because it's not a guaranteed income all the time. So we will, come with other money. I mean, I suppose if you're lucky like yourself, coming over and you've got a pension to back up, you can probably do it because you've got an income coming in as well.
Mm. You did other things as well, though, didn't you, to make?
Oh well, yeah. I was looking after other people's sheets. And that's been such a long time now. It's only you saying that she reminded me. Yeah. For 5 or 6 years I looked after this house because this house was a sheet. And I think
You can come in now and make my beds if you like.
I'd about 4 or 5.
Yes.
And I was panic stricken at one point because I thought, what if they all have a booking on the same day? Mm. But it always worked out. I think only ever once or twice I had 2 on the same day, so I had to go out and get that done early. If it was empty, I could do that. But if there was a guest in that house, I had to wait till they left, which wouldn't be till 10 or 11. Get that done. It usually take me a couple of hours, then go on to the next one. And I couldn't even think about doing that now. It was hard work, really hard work. And most of the people whose houses I did look after have now sold up. I mean, Joe sold to you, and I think one of the last ones, one moved over here. One is just recently, actually, I stopped doing it because I'd been ill and on treatment. I couldn't do it for them anymore. But they're now just selling up as well. So, most of them did used to rent it out as sheets, and found it wasn't as profitable as they hoped.
No.
So,
what about cotisations? Because you're saying as an artisan,
it's got cold.
It has got cold. You pay higher cotisations.
Well, I don't think it's.
I could not ask you that question.
You couldn't spit it out, could you?
No, I couldn't get it out. No, I should have just picked up the thing and gone because I was trying to glance at it.
It's just lucky I know the questions, but no, I don't. I think I said it's around 25%, and I really think what we're paying is we get our money's worth, if you like.
Definitely.
You can't complain about it at all. That's all you can say about it, really. I mean, we have to pay other bills, don't we? Like we have Taxe Fonciere, and we used to have to pay Taxe D'Habitation, but now, if you're here all the time, you don't have to pay that. But the other one that we do pay, Taxe Fonciere, that covers lots of local stuff,
it's a bit like your council tax,
isn't
it?
It is like your council tax. And,
but we do see where they spend it. I mean, that's the thing.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. Whereas if you would... I don't like it harping on the UK, but that is the only thing we've got to compare it to, isn't it? But in the UK, you'll see rubbish strewn in the streets everywhere, and all the bins not being collected, and you've been paying for that, and it's just not happening. So we can really see here that it does happen. All right, now we don't get our rubbish collected, but we've got somewhere to take it to, and those places are kept clean and tidy.
Yeah.
Apart from ours recently wasn't, because the caretaker went off sick.
Yeah.
So we do suffer a little bit with our one in the village.
But we've got the fact that we have a caretaker for our village, and we all know. We've got our cell defects just all been done up, hasn't it?
Yeah, the money's the definite local money went into the sale defect. That's the one that we had our wedding reception in, and now I wish we'd delayed it a little bit because it's really beautiful. It's lovely. Yeah.
And I suppose the Christmas tree might come out of that.
It probably does, actually. Waiting for that to go up at the minute, because you said you thought you heard the thing, but it hasn't gone up, has it?
I saw a cherry picker and I got excited.
But last year we had a wooden, like a pyramid, didn't we?
Yes.
And I'm wondering if they've stored that ready for this year, because it's quite good in a way, because it's quite eco, isn't it?
Yes, that was lovely.
To put that up and not be cutting another tree down. So it'd be interesting to see what we end up with this year. Yes. Oh, because as well, in recent years, we had the whole of the village was resurfaced, all the car park spaces put in, and all the flower beds were all renewed and new flower beds. So we had loads of work done then.
Yeah, because you used to have the recycling by you, didn't you?
Yeah, the recycling bins used to be next to the church outside the Jeep, which was very handy, I must admit, to now, but it was also noisy. If we're on a Sunday morning and somebody's decided to empty all Saturday night's bottles, it was a bit noisy. Yeah.
They created extra parking there now.
Yes, parking all round, and it makes it easier for us in a way with Jeeps, because they'd say, is there parking and all this, and it's free parking, marked outside the Jeep, and it's great.
Yeah.
The only thing we only ever really wished, out the front of our house, and there's that huge area, isn't it? Almost like a big triangle. And I very often wish we had something in the middle of that, like just even a flower bed or something. I think it would be quite nice. Apparently years ago, before they even put all that surface down, there used to be a tree in the centre of there, and a house very close to ours.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, weird, isn't it? But and when Leon's mum was telling us about it, and she was a bit gutted that she hadn't got photos to show us.
You never think of taking photos of something that...
Well, back then I suppose they hardly took any anyway, did they? But I thought that someone might have made a sketch or something. But
been interesting.
Yeah, but I would like that, because every now and then, because bands will pull up at the bar, very often. Actually, they've done for a long time, but they used to come into the square and turn around in that area and go back out again, and it was just annoying that they were coming so close to our houses. And I thought if they had that there, that would stop them doing that. But
yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Speak to Roger.
Yeah.
Roger.
Well, that's another thing, talking about being accepted. I mean, recently the schools were asking for computers, weren't they, and stuff like that, and we had what's it called? It's the modem, isn't it? We had a spare modem. Duncan was going to take it apart, but the schools were asking for it, so we donated that, and that was a couple of months back now, isn't it? But all of a sudden the mayor turns up on our doorstep to come and thank us, so we had the mayor in for a cup of coffee.
Oh, Roger.
Yeah, no, he's a lovely man. He married us in the Marie's office.
You did, yeah. Yeah, he's lovely. Transport. Do you find it difficult living rurally without public transport?
Occasionally, yeah. I do wish we had a station a bit closer than we go to, because our nearest one I think is Laval. I don't think there's anything because Fleur's further out.
Used to be one in Mayenne years ago.
Yes, yeah. And as I say, it's still marked up in Mayenne. I've said that before on another interview. It's there saying Mayenne Gare, but it's not there. And there used to be a bus that came. Well, actually, I'm saying that there might still, but I just never seen it. We've got bus stops in the village. There's one by the Salle de Fête, and there's one in Poulet.
There is.
And it's got a timetable, but I've never seen a bus.
I've got a feeling Thierry told us once that it goes at 7 a.m. which would explain why I never see it.
What, that actual bus? Yeah. Not because he might go at that time, but just because he drives
the school.
The neighbour drives the school coach or bus, so he probably has to leave quite early as well, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But yeah, I've never actually seen it. But the thing is, they won't run that many buses and that often because I suppose it's petrol costs and not enough people using them. So I suppose it's costing a lot of money. So you'll only have one or two buses. I did take a photo of the timetable once, didn't I? Because I was surprised that there was a timetable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are buses that you can book if you're elderly or whatever. You can book, like Wendy does.
Yes.
The Alliot buses. You can book one to pick you up. Does it come to a door?
I think it must do.
Because I don't imagine she's going to walk far to get the bus. So they will come quite close to you, if not on your doorstep, and you can get the bus to go shopping. But then the only thing is you are tied then, because you've got to do whatever you want to do and then come back to the bus stop to go home again. So I don't know what the time scale is. So they're available, but not as readily as if we was in the UK. We'd just go down the ends of the road, get a bus, and there'd be loads of them all day long, wouldn't there? So that side of it I do miss. Obviously I drive, but there are times if the car's broken or something, then you could do with being able to jump on a bus.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, there is in the summer, I don't know if it still runs, the school bus comes to the church, this is during obviously school holidays, so they come to the church and they'll pick people up at the church to go to the local swimming pool. It always used to be around around 1 o'clock. They'd pick them up for €1 and they'd take you to the open air swimming pool in Lasso.
Oh, right.
So I remember seeing Natalie queuing with the children one year when she was childminding, and I heard about it then, but I haven't seen it happen for a while, so I don't know if it still does.
I mean, in the towns, even in Mayenne and certainly in Laval, we see a lot of public transport.
Yeah, well, you got again in Mayenne, you've got those tiny little buses, haven't you? I'm assuming they must be electric, and I can't. Are they the Elliot saying that? It could be. Is it a tiny bus that she gets?
I assume so. I shouldn't think it's a big thing, is it?
Yeah, they're like little square things. I remember Duncan and I were in Calais one year when we came over, and outside the huge Marie's office there was those little buses, and we were fascinated by them because we hadn't seen them before. And everywhere, and so obviously they are everywhere in France. And I think they're very cheap as well. Yeah. And I think Vanessa, who I spoke to in the first interview, she was saying that she. It went up yesterday, and because she doesn't tend to drive here, her husband drives, And she used to get the bus occasionally in May, and one of those little ones, and just got the bus in till about. So you're lucky if you're in a town. You're going to get it. But because we live in rurally, it's I'd imagine it's much more difficult to organise and run, really.
Did you bring a car over or buy a car here?
Knowing we were coming, we purposely bought a newer car. My little Twingo, we bought that just before I left work, really, about a year before I left work, because we knew we were coming here and we needed to know that we had a car that was going to be okay for at least a few years. So being new, we never guaranteed, but hope that it's going to be new and keep going for us. So we bought that over, and I think we had the Berlingo at that stage, which we'd had for a few years. So we had both cars to bring over. But initially came over in the Twingo and then brought the other one over, but we ended up taking the Berlingo back and selling it. But no, we did bring it over, so I've still got that here. Right-hand drive, can be a bit awkward, but I'm so desperate to get a left-hand drive now. I really want a left-hand drive car, and hopefully we will do in the new year. So
but was it difficult registering it here?
Well, no, I don't think it was. I mean, obviously Duncan deals with all the paperwork mainly.
I should be interviewing Duncan.
Yeah. When we got the appointments and that, we always went together, because obviously again it's that thing about one understanding and the other, not, and all this stuff. So we did have a few. It's a bit like getting your carpet or anything here, because they love the paperwork. You have to get all this paperwork together and do it all physically. Go to the prefecture and then pick it up and all this, sign for it, all that stuff. So I don't think it was that bad, and you obviously have to pay. And then in those days, right next to the prefecture, there was the little shop that sold you your number plates.
Oh right, okay.
So you just gave them the paperwork, and then they did it for you there and then.
We
were so excited. First time we got the number plates was stupid. We're French now.
Yeah.
It was really exciting. Look, I'm French. God, look. Even though it's right-hand drive. So yeah, that was good. But I don't think we didn't ever get plates on the Berlingo, because we took it back and got rid of it. Yeah. But it's a lot more complicated now, because you have to pay import tax and everything when you bring one over now since Brexit. So I don't envy anybody bringing them over now.
I don't know why they do. I don't know why they just don't sell them. Get a French car.
Yeah, well, I think it makes more sense. So, funny enough, we was in Hebrew car park. Was that with you or with Duncan? And there was a car, left-hand drive car, but with English plates.
Yes, I was with you.
Yeah. That threw me totally.
Yeah. What's going on here? We wanted to know the story, didn't we?
Yeah, because if you're going to buy a left-hand drive car, it'd have French plates on it if you can live here. I don't. It's a bit bizarre. They must have bought it in the UK, but perhaps they'd only literally just come over, and we're jumping to conclusions and haven't got round yet to getting their plates done. But what was the other conclusion? We said maybe they're French.
We said perhaps they're
Could be the other way around, couldn't it?
Yes, that they're French people living in the UK and they just come over to visit family.
Yeah, it's quite possible. We've jumped to conclusions. It just really threw us.
Yeah. And you've got a French licence?
I have got a French licence now. Is that after Brexit? Can't remember how long I've had it now. But that was a bit of a palaver, because they tend to change their systems a lot. 1 minute you're having to go to the prefecture with everything, next minute they say no, you do it all online now. And when I got mine, it was all done online, and Duncan's wasn't that long before, and his was all done at prefecture. So it was all done online, and then we had to send the paperwork in, mind you. They still wanted paper proof of everything, so it's so frustrating. Feel like you're doing everything twice. So sent off, and I just must have gone to the bottom of the pile, because it just wasn't happening. Meanwhile, my English licence had expired, and obviously if that's expired, you've got no insurance, you've got nothing. So it was getting a bit panicky. So I ended up writing to them and telling my situation. Look, it has run out now. I can't drive. I need to drive for work. And I don't know if it's coincidence or not, but I suddenly got my licence within the week. Just turned up then, so I don't know whether I prompted it or
Yes.
whether it was going to come anyway.
Yeah.
So I have a French licence now, and that's the other thing now. Sometimes they were saying, well, at one point they were saying if you want a French licence now, you have to redo your test here.
No.
That is one thing I'd heard, but I think it's probably changed again.
I've just applied for mine, haven't I? I would not have applied if they'd done that to take a test.
No, well I don't think I would have done.
Yeah. No, I haven't.
I'm sure that one point that unless it was just rumours, but that's what I heard.
It's post-Brexit people. I don't know.
I don't know. I really
no.
It's a
I'm
bit of a
so
worry.
glad it isn't.
But can you imagine it trying to take a lesson? You'd probably be doing it absolutely fine. It'd just be the language, wouldn't it? Talking to the instructor.
I struggled so hard first time in the UK. I would not want to do that game.
Well, Natalie's French and she just cannot get it.
I'll probably get a swamp on me if I had to take a test again. Do you enjoy French food?
I love French food, and I will probably eat more of the cheap cuts and things than a lot of people will. I think even you'll have a go, won't you? But I mean, it's just the only thing is that the ones that are what I would call cheap food is boulot, which basically is seafood, but it's like a fat snail, but very, very chewy. And boulot in French means basically hard work, and I'm sure that's why they call them that, because they really, you can chew and chew and chew and chew, and the rest of your food's getting cold. But so I avoid them like the plague. But yeah, so I'm all right. Tried, but don't necessarily like. It wasn't when we had that repus. It was quite tender, I thought.
The tripe
compared to what I've had before, but I wouldn't order it. I almost accidentally ordered. Well, it's like kidneys, but it looked more like a brain. But it was. I can imagine I must have come out of there rippling in iron because it was so. Because all that sort of stuff, kidneys and all that is really full of iron, and it was very tasty. But somebody would really get put off by that on the plate because I was quite shocked. I thought, oh, what have I ordered? I did think it was a brain at first.
They do, certainly in rural France, they will use every part of an animal, won't they?
Yeah.
Which I quite like. I mean, if you're going to kill an animal, don't throw half of it away. It's an insult, isn't it?
Exactly, and I think, I mean, but they're not even. I mean, it's a bit like what's his name in River Cottage. What's his name? Hugh Fernley Whittingstall. He in UK he did a load of cooking from roadkill, didn't he? And our neighbour is the same. He's come across a deer on the side of the road, put it in the back of the car, and his wife's did a bit butchery course years ago, and she basically prepared that deer for the freezer. And we were there having a meal once, and he'd found a hare on the side of the road, and we had that. We didn't know it until the last minute, more or less, did we?
Well, that's because he said, eat it, and then I'll tell you what it is.
Yeah. But but it was really tasty, wasn't it? It was delicious. I mean, I'm obviously not vegetarian. Yeah, so I say I'm quite prepared to try anything, really, unless I know that it's boulot and tripe.
And you enjoy cooking, which helps.
I enjoy cooking sometimes. I don't like having to think of things to cook. And I used to love, I'll get more adventurous when we've got people around for food, but I do. It's got to a point now where if Duncan says, oh, have so-and-so around for dinner or something, and if it's going to be the French neighbours, I don't want to worry because they will eat anything and they love trying anything new, so I shouldn't worry about it. But once they're there, I'm fine, but it's just the initial having to do it and preparing for people to come round, I get a little bit panicky. When it comes to that, I always have to in two minds, do I cook French?
Yes.
Do I look for something French to cook? And I haven't done a lot of French cooking, I don't think. What's the chicken one?
Coq au vin?
Yeah, I've done coq au vin a few times. I've done quiche a few times. But generally, I think I've done French desserts, but I've never done a whole French meal.
So do you find you're cooking the same things as you would have cooked in the UK, just Frenching them up a bit?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, one of my favourites at the moment is we went for a replica, because Duncan and I try and we eat out fairly often, at least once a week. And we went, after I'd been to one of my hospital appointments, went in a little bar restaurant. We had a meal there, and it was, all it said was poulet, all I could see was cat fromage or something like that. And I thought, that sounds interesting. So I had this creamy cheesy chicken, and oh my God, it was delicious. And I've cooked it 3 times at home since. Oh, it's so lovely. And so simple. So simple. We had it this week. I'm salivating at the thought of it. So, yeah, I can't think what else. I suppose sometimes I will eat in a restaurant, and then I do have the capability of thinking I could cook this at home.
Oh yeah.
That's I know what I'm doing with cooking, but I don't always want to. Every time when I'm up in my happy place, I come downstairs, Dunk's watching telly, and then I open the fridge and I'm standing there going, what am I going to cook? Because very rarely have I planned what I'm going to cook. But I'm quite good at being able to make something of nothing.
Yes.
I can usually think of something, because most of the time, even that night with the chicken, all I do is I'll get out my chicken or my whatever meat it is, or my fish in the morning, leave it to defrost. I might be thinking upstairs if I'm getting hungry, what can I cook? But most of the time I'll come down, open the fridge, and then I just saw the cheese and I thought, I've got cream. Right, cheesy chicken it is. So nothing's ever a complicated cook. I found I can cook something quite quick.
Yeah. Do you use the foreign aisle in the supermarkets?
Very rarely.
So there's not many English bits that you crave?
If I'm like at the moment, I'm out of Marmite. I do enjoy Marmite, because I've given up. It used to be biscuits. I'd often see the digestive biscuits in the English section and think, oh, I could do that. But because I've at least 2 years now really given up biscuits, I don't really think about it. I suppose even though it's not English, the only other thing I would crave would be curries, because I know in the foreign aisle, in the English section and the Oriental section or Asian section, isn't it? You can get your curry paste. Yeah. So I will, but they do their own, but they tend to be Thai, don't they? Tea bags has been mentioned so many times in the other interviews, but I'll only really pick up tea bags there if I've got really desperate and I'm waiting for someone to bring some over. I might think of something later, but I can't think of anything that I really...
Tea bags and Marmite then?
Yeah. And I've run out. Maybe I should contact Adam and get him to bring some when he comes over.
Yeah. What's your favourite French food or drink?
I don't think I've got a favourite, to be honest. Once upon a time I'd like to see the flammekish, but that's not even French. Well, it's French Austrian, I think.
It's definitely not a French word, is it?
No. If I went up, but I did research it, and it did come up from Alsace. That's it. And
it's
so
the German
border, isn't it?
French-German border.
That's it.
Yeah.
I do like that, and you can get that all supermarkets and restaurants here, can't you? So yeah, I suppose it is. If you can call that French, I like that. I wouldn't say favourite cakes, but no,
I do have a problem with the cakes over here sometimes.
Yeah, I think we said this before. The cakes aren't always as flavoursome as they look.
Yeah, they're very pretty.
Yeah, I mean the chocolate mousses are nice. I do like that. But I wouldn't say I would have a craving, I don't think, for anything particularly French. If I'd been away for a while, and I'd be thinking, oh, I can't wait back and do that. If anything, when I'm away, the first thing I feel like I want to do is have a cup of tea. I mean, the bread's lovely, but I'm trying not to eat too much of that. I do like a boule. I just find I think it's because there's more of the softness than the crustiness. Whereas with the baguette, it's a lot of crust and stuff as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cheese, I do like the cheese, but I do miss cheddar.
Do you buy cheddar here?
I do buy it here, but I'm still not so sure it's as strong. But again, when I did that cheesy chicken, I put some cheddar in that, grated cheddar. No, I've got to think of something when the camera's turned off, but at the moment I can't think of anything that I would say, oh. But drink-wise, I enjoy a Kia and I enjoy a cider.
What about French supermarkets? Do you like them? Do you find anything frustrating about them?
Only cost, really. I mean, I do find it, it's just frustrating. Even though I'm not comparing, but I suppose actually you don't even have to compare, you just know everything's gone up at the moment, but I can't say there's otherwise really any different, because I mean, you go to a UK supermarket, you've got the fish counter, you've got the deli counter, you've got the boulangerie, and they still sell garden stuff, don't they, electrical stuff, so it's the same really, isn't it? So you can't really say they do anything any different, in my opinion. I don't think they do. Oh, the only difference is that you can't get pharmacy items in there, like you said,
yes. Yeah.
And tobacco, but then obviously that doesn't bother me. I don't smoke.
And their wine aisle was always extensive.
Yeah, I mean,
get a big wine cellar area.
Well, I was in a shop recently looking at wine. I don't tend to buy wine very often because we tend to buy it in Lidl's and Aldi, but in a supermarket, it does seem vast, yeah. There does seem to be a vast amount of choice. But I do remember going into a few in the UK and a vast amount, but obviously the difference is the price.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, they'll have a lot of red, won't they? I must admit, they do have a lot of red. And more recently, I've noticed that they'll have quite a lot of rosé, because they didn't used to. I mean, rosé, I think rosé is quite a recent thing here. The French are starting to drink it more, haven't they? I mean, Natalie will always have rosé if she's at ours, won't she?
Don't indulge in pasties and those.
I did, but funny enough, we used to have pasties quite a lot. We used to come over on holiday, because if we was going to have an apéro before a meal in the restaurant, 9 times out of 10 we'd have pastis. And it's just different. I couldn't eat it. Couldn't drink it all night, because I don't think it's the sort. It's not exactly thirst quenching. It's just a different taste. I have it occasionally just for a change, but generally now, if we're going to have an apéro, it's a Kia.
Yeah.
And I like Kia, the peach.
The peach one is
with
nice.
The peach syrup. The others are all nice, but I do like the peach one. I mean, that's another thing. Holidays, you try more things, don't you? I think. And we used to have the Kia Breton, which is the cider one.
Oh, okay.
So it's mixed with cider, and I thought to myself, is it white wine and cider and all that? But it's cider instead of wine, and then they'll mix something with that.
Oh, right.
And then your Kia Royale is obviously champagne.
Yes.
And syrup and that. So yeah, there's the 3 sort of different ones.
Well, that's all the questions, I think, Jan, because the only other ones are about schooling.
Yep.
And you didn't. Your kids haven't been to school here.
No,
so.
and I've been interested talking to other people about that actually, because there's not many people we know that have got kids here at school age. So I didn't.
Not school age.
Didn't really have. The only schooling I suppose we touched on at all was with Natalie when she was childminding. We'd sort of talk about things then, but
Jackie's kids went through the French system.
Yes, a friend of theirs, Jackie, her children have been here since, I don't know what age they were. Quite young, weren't they?
4 and 6, something like that.
Yeah, so they went through it. But Jackie wasn't too keen on being interviewed, otherwise I could have asked her. I'd say there's quite a few of that age group that live in the Goron area, so if I lived there I'd know a few more, but here we're amongst the elderly, aren't we?
We are. Everyone's an old white English lady.
Yeah. Which is why it's so much easier for us to wear what we want, be relaxed, because they don't care. They really don't care what you're wearing. They don't, you could turn up dressed in jeans and everything for dinner and they would not care. I mean, because sometimes I sort of make the effort thinking, people come around for dinner, and then the neighbours will turn up. They're very casual. Even going out to a restaurant.
Yeah.
It's just I do it for me, really, to feel like I'm doing something at a special occasion. I'm going to put something different on. Yeah, especially if it's a birthday.
Well, yes. Was there anything else you didn't feel you had the opportunity to add?
I can't think of anything. Again, I'll probably turn the camera off and think, forgot.
I said that. At least you can re-interview yourself.
Yeah.
You can pop a little bit in.
Yeah, I was trying to think from all the other interviews actually. It's been really interesting. I haven't done loads because not many people were that keen on being filmed, but And I've just at this point, I can just say that I sent out about 18 questionnaires, and I've only got back 7. Some people did struggle to use the Google Drive to fill them in, or they forgot to save it, things like that. Some people, quite understandably, haven't had the time to sit and do it. So in the end, it's obviously been problematic. So I've just sort of said to people, don't worry about it now. I'll just do what I can with the information I've got now, and I'll just do a video from what I can get out of that.
Yes, yeah.
If I can't really make anything out of that, I'm just really grateful that people have done it, and I'll keep thanking people who have taken part at all. It's going to be interesting trying to put that together. I might need your help on that.
All right.
Collating the info and then deciding what to do with it. So thanks, Sharon.
You're welcome, Sharon.
And I will see you in the next video.
Sorry.
Au revoir.